we were having a look of the various network techniques, or rather, we are having a broad outlook of some of the tools which you have for controlling the life cycle of a project. When we say life cycle, everything has a start, everything has an end, and how you are going to go about getting it done is basically what we are focusing upon. In particular, we saw the construction sequence of a raft. I was very fortunate to get that video. So all of you would have at least got an idea as to how that the raft is being done. So we saw how activities and time is being identified. Activities are identified based on your experience, and the time which is also being put in is based on experience, because in a critical path method you are doing you generate a critical path method diagram based on your experience. You know what is going to be done, you know how long it is going to take. So for a project which is repetitive in nature, it is very good. However, for a developmental project, it might not be the best option. So you go for PERT, which is more more probabilistic in nature. So this is deterministic in nature. In other words, it means that you will have to have the values. You should know the values of time, and also you should. Even in PERT, you should know the activities which you're going to do. So we saw the NAT chart that was created, and one more important thing about the NAT chart, although it might not look like one of those network diagrams, you will find that the NAT charts indicate you can do the lead and lag in a NAT chart, which you cannot actually do conveniently in a CPM diagram. In a critical path method diagram, you cannot conveniently do it. We also saw that we'll have to, in critical path method, all the activities have to be completed fully before the next activity is presumed to start. So these are some of the few concepts which I put across to you. I'll also like to remind you, or just ask you to think about the networks which you have already studied. Do you remember the Hardy-Cross method, or in the pipe analysis methods, pipe networks? So you were able to get the optimal routes. Do you remember, guys? It's in fluid mechanics, okay? So whatever you do in fluid mechanics, that principles can be applied here also. Those networks you solved manually, those can also be solved by a matrix method. And also all these schedules what we are talking about, they can also be solved using matrix methods, okay? So basically this is some of the basic ideas of what we have done till now. Now we'll go on to the lecture of today. Today we are going to particularly focus only on the critical path method. We'll revisit a few of the definitions of what we saw in the previous time. When I did the same thing earlier, I was using dates, but this time probably we'll go with numbers. So instead of saying dates, we'll say number. This one takes so many days. Please remember, in a critical path method, you're free to use the number of the units. Just like how you say in x-axis 1 centimeter is equal to so many, say 10 kilonewton of force. In the same way here also you can just say that 1 unit what you are saying can indicate 1 day, or if suppose it's a very dynamic process, you can say 1 hour, or even go into fractions, or you can extend it. You can say 1 activity denotes 1 month, so it will be all in units of a time which you prefer. So probably a very long process like construction of a dam, you might even say years. Okay, 1 year, it will take 1 year to concrete the entire mass. It will take 2 years to stop and to divert the water flow and install any other protection mechanisms, and another 1 year for doing only the excavation. So all this can be the time frame which you choose is in your hands. Okay, so I would ask you to try to develop the network diagram here in class today, because I know if I ask you to do it as a homework, I don't know how successful I'll be in that count. So here we go. Basically, for any network diagram, this is a short checklist which you will be doing. First thing, you'll have to define all activities. We have already defined all the activities which you're going to do in the NAT chart. Okay. Then we also need to know the precedence relationship. Even that we have got it in our previous class. And then you should know what activities can be done independently and which activities depend on another activities. And then you also please furnish the timelines. Please furnish the timelines. So basically the three items here, okay, the precedence relationship and or the interdependencies are nothing but the constraints that you will apply. So these are things like what we were talking about, the finish to start, start to start, etc. But again, in this round, I'm not going to go into all those details. Now here, these are the fundamental rules of CPM. So the first thing is you have to represent by only one arrow or one arc. It can be an arc or it can be an arrow, but there can be only one per activity. Then you must have a distinct end node, okay, and a start node. You should have a start node and an end node, and then you should put it in the correct sequence. So in case you are finding that you are not able to get the logic correctly, because sometimes what will happen is many activities could converge to a node. Is that a cell phone over there, please? Can you put it inside? Maybe in the next VAT will advance to where we use tab and all that, but till such a time I'll prefer that these things are kept inside. Thank you. Right. So we need to, so suppose you are finding that many things converge to a particular point, that time you will find that the logic network is getting screwed up. In that case, you will be using a dummy activity. Dummy activity will not have any duration of time. And the other thing about the networks is you should be very careful to ensure that you don't have any loops. The moment you get into a loop, you will find that you cannot go outside the system. So it means that if you are going to have a critical path method in your system, if you are developing it, you will not be able to do it if you are going to get a loop. For instance, you say I will do this activity, and then you again have a test constraint. That is not going to work. Probably in a program you can have it, but not in a critical path method. So this is what I'll expect you to do today. So you will have to draw and identify the parts of a network diagram. So the duration of activity is already been given. So that normally will be done by you. If you are going to develop the network, you will do it from your experience. You will know the capabilities of the organization you are working for or the organization which is doing it, and then you will be able to develop it. Then you will have to find the duration of each part, which is nothing but summing up the times along the network. Okay, so if you're having, in your case, you'll have only two loops. So when you're doing the two loops, you'll find that one loop is going to have more time than the other. So when that happens, you're going to say that that particular network is the one with the critical path. Okay, the critical path will not be, you will not be able to delay the critical path. So if you're, so such a thing is the, like that is what you're trying to estimate. You're going to try to ensure that the critical path is not, you're ensuring that you're finishing all the activities so that your job gets completed in time. And these are the two things which are normally expected in a, or this is what is being done in a critical path. So you will have a forward pass where you get all the earliest start times, and then you have a backward pass. In the previous time, or what I was preferring to do, I was preferring to go straight from the tabulation, the calculation of values, which essentially is what it also comes back to. So I find that it is more like a game where I see which is preceding what, and then I'm filling up the tabulation straight. But if you're going to draw the diagram and do it, probably you'll be able to get better clarity. However, like it's a matter of preference. I usually prefer to go attack the table straight. So then you have the float. The total float is the float which you actually have when you are going to when you are looking at a problem. So what is the total free time that you can have inside a loop? That is the total float which you have, and you can be sure that an item on the critical path does not have any float. The other float is the free float. Okay, the free float helps you gauge how much you can play around with one activity to ensure that the critical path is completed. Okay, so again, this is based on your judgment. It also based on your experience. It also is having a certain amount of risk. Are you willing to take a risk to see whether your job is going to be completed faster? So all of these things are some of the benefits, or some of the things where the free float comes into picture. If you are able to maximize the, I mean, like, maximize the use of the free float, the other items will automatically fall into place. That is, in the sense that you will try to delay these activities to the maximum possible extent, so that you can finish the activities on the critical path faster. So these are some of the benefits of critical path method. To tell the truth, I got this from the net. So and I'm sure you will accept all these points. So it shows the interdependencies, yeah, in the project. So about this planning tool to develop controls, this is something which I'd like to just touch upon. So this, when you are having the entire network in place, so you know what is the time, or what is the cost, or if suppose there is another constraint which has been placed by your buyer or the person for whom you're doing the work. If that sort of thing comes into the picture, then immediately you can think of putting the controls in place. What do we mean by control? We say that I'm going to ensure that time is minimized, or time, even if time goes, I don't mind. I want to ensure that the cost is well balanced. So all of these items you can bring into the picture. Okay, now what are the limitations? We do have some limitations in this. So one of the worst part of CPM, or why CPM may not be always acceptable for a construction project, is CPM assumes that all resources are available at the for the project at any given point of time. It will say that yes, for this activity, whatever is required is available. Now, this is not a statement which is justifiable, in the sense that in reality, whenever you have a look at the project, you will find that there will be a shortage of resources, or there might be a movement of resources. So people might move the resource what you feel was there. So this resource leveling and all these things cannot be done by when you're using only critical path method. And so this is what we also mean by resource dependencies is not fixed in CPM. If you look at it, you have only the time which is being put, or time is the only item which is being put on the network. So you don't know how the cost is going to vary by just having a look at the critical path method diagram. Okay, so now for all the tools which you are having, okay, like MS Project or Primavera, these are two of the most important tools which we talk about. But there are other interesting tools developed only for the use of PERT networks, or only for using the for construction. For construction, they have optimized it to a very high level. Primavera is one of the tools which are very much optimized for our construction sort of projects. Okay, so when these come into the picture, they give you the facility, or they give a method wherein you can allocate resources to the job, and you can also allocate the cost of each resource. So the moment you put this into the network, you will find that it's not a simple critical path CPM network only. So something more than CPM is being put into the network to make it more useful. So if you're thinking only of pure CPM, you will find that this is not going to work. So this is another reason why personally, I feel that our syllabus should move from CPM. Maybe 20 years ago it would have been okay, because there's no computation tool, competition was not so cutthroat, and you could just afford to play around a little. But today, competition is such, and even for the matter, why are we even thinking about all these systems? Or why are we talking about CPM and all? This is a good way to prove to your client that you'll be able to finish the job. At least on paper, you can say, look, this is the network diagram, which I have been able to generate, or my company is able to generate. This is what we'll be able to do. On paper, you can definitely prove. However, if you're only going to look at pure CPM, it's not going to work. Of course, all the people have become wise. They'll expect you to use some good or well-known or renowned tool to prove that your project or you are going to be able to adhere to the schedule which you are talking about. Okay, so but in any case, the principles of CPM are still relevant. Okay, the principles are still relevant, but please remember the parameters which you feed into the CPM network is not sufficient for the competition which we are having today. So coming back here, you can also misuse float. Okay, we only have one parameter to play around in CPM. It is time. Okay, so the float is the only thing which you can play around. Probably a person who's not having good experience to handle float might screw up the project, making the non-critical items critical. Okay, so if you're only going to look at CPM, it has been documented also that construction projects fail when you're only using CPM, okay, because of the number of variables. Please remember the resources which you have. Okay, resources are manpower, plant and machinery. Okay, and sometimes even things like water, electricity, and so the number of variables are actually very huge. So these are also resources. Manpower, tools and plant are also, plant and machinery are also very important resources. Now so this is what we put at I mean, at least I'm putting that CPM by itself may not deliver in a construction site. I'm now going to open my Excel sheet. So this is the layout which we have developed. Okay, I'm just zooming it a little. I hope you're able to see it. Please make a note of these activities, and we'll try to. I'd like you to generate the network for this. So each activity you will be putting in a circle, and then you will be connecting them with arrows. Okay. Sorry. Zoom a little more. 1 minute. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll zoom it, and 1, 2, 3. I think I can. Okay, I hope you are able to. I just split it up. Okay, this will be a column A and column B. Okay, the last activity is stop, which I'm hiding from your view so that you have maximum view of the slide.